Hello guys and welcome back. Today I'm going to be looking at the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus, and this is my full review, having used it for a couple of months now, since March the 6th when it came out this year. This came in a variety of storage options including 128, 256 and 512 gigabytes respectively, with micro SD card support also included in all models. We do have 12 gigabytes of RAM inside as well, which is the most I've ever seen in a phone, which is, absolutely crazy. And we do have 6.7-inch display on the front here. This is the S20 Plus. The regular S20 is closer to the regular S10 with a 6.2-inch display. With a resolution of 1440 by 3200, this is tack sharp with roughly 525 ppi. So let's have a look at this design. On the front you can see that gorgeous edge-to-edge display. It does have dual curves, although they are much more subtle than previous versions, such as the S10 and the S9 series. They've toned it down, so now it's closer to a flat display, but as you can see there is a very, very slight curve on the sides. So that's very nice for swiping and doing things such as opening the edge panels, like so. We do have a centered punch hole at the top. They've moved that from the right-hand side on the S10. I do think it looks a little bit better because it's more symmetrical, and it is also significantly smaller. It's basically a pinhole at this point. And we do have slimmed down bezels, even slimmer than the S10, which was already very, 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 very thin bezels. So further at the top we do have the hidden earpiece speaker, and I don't think you'll be able to see it. Oh, you can just about see it. It's very, very thin there, just in the top bezel, and that is of course to maximize screen real estate, giving you a far bigger display in a smaller package. On the top of the phone we do have the microphone on the left here, and we do have the micro SD card slot as well as the nano SIM tray. It's surrounded by a metal frame which looks very nice and polished. It is aluminium. On the right hand side here we do have the volume controls, the power button, which has been it's been removed from this side. Technically this button is the same as last time, although it's not a Bixby button anymore. It can be now programmed to be the power button, so that's what I've done. So out of the box it will be the Bixby key, so you hold it down to program Bixby. However, I prefer, and I think most people will prefer, to have it as a standard power button. So you just hold it down and, like every other phone, power off. Simple. On the bottom here we have the USB-C port towards the center, another microphone on the left which gives you stereo microphone sound, and then we have a speaker. Now this works in tail with the top speaker at the top here to give you stereo sound. So when you're watching videos in this orientation, you have sound coming from the right hand side and from the left hand side, giving you a very immersive audio experience. On the left hand side there is nothing, it's just a clean rail of metal. And then on the back here we do have a quad camera setup. This is up from the triple camera setup of the S10 series. We have a regular wide camera, a ultra wide camera at the top, and then a telephoto at the bottom, which actually has a resolution of 64 megapixels. That's going to give you extreme detail in photos. The fourth camera over here is a time of flight sensor, so when you're taking portrait mode photos, for example, it will give you a much better background blur. We do also have an LED flash. Now it does stick out quite a bit, but that's because these are using brand new camera sensors. The S10 series, the S9 series, the S8 series were all using the same sensors as the Galaxy S7 series, just with improved software and optimization. These are all brand new sensors, which is going to give you much superior clarity in your photos. I do like this design because it's much more ergonomic than the S10. It's a bit more curvy and a bit more luxurious looking, I would say, with the metal curving in just a little bit more, especially with the buttons on the side here. You can see the rail just dips in a bit. It's very nice. And it's pretty... It's not exactly thin, is it? But that's because inside we do have a 4500 milliamp battery. That's up from 3400 on the S10 Plus. That's a big battery. So onto that front display then, we do have a gorgeous 3200 by 1440 resolution. That's a 20 by 9 aspect ratio, giving you a pixel density of roughly 525. That just means everything is going to be tack sharp, and looking at text and images, you won't be able to see any pixels unless you're looking under a microscope. Up from previous models, we do also have a 120Hz refresh rate. Now in the settings, which I'll show you now, you can change from 60 to 120, but of course that comes with the trade-off of having to use it at full HD resolution, full HD plus resolution rather, instead of Quad HD plus. Quad HD plus is going to give you extra sharpness, and the full HD plus is just going to give you less sharpness, but of course you can have that 120Hz mode for extra smoothness. You won't be able to notice this because this video is filmed at 60 FPS, so to you won't be able to see any difference in smoothness. However, when you switch between the two and you have to see it for yourself in real life, it is a massive difference between the two frame rates, because of course you're doubling the frame rate and the amount of times the screen is refreshing per second, making it perceive twice as smooth. Being a Samsung flagship, of course, we're running on Android 10 and One UI 2, which is their new Android skin. This is my personal favourite Android skin. I do like the icons, most people don't, but I like it. So that's my personal preference there. But it's away from stock Android. It doesn't look anything like stock Android. You would think it's a different operating system, really, unless you're looking at the layout. You do still have the widgets on the home screen, of course. You can move these around, put them wherever you wish. You can move the icons around. You can put them at the top there. You can even change this to look like an iPhone and have all your icons and things on the main screen, so there is no app tray. It would all be on these screens. My personal preference is to have an app drawer, as I prefer to be able to see my wallpaper, and I like having widgets, of course. So for example, there I have a web link to my bus card. Using the new One UI system on a chip, we do have gestures built in. These work pretty much identically to the iPhone, so you swipe up to go home, you swipe up and hold, takes you to your recent apps, and then you do even have the back gesture. Now these are Android 10 gestures, which I believe Google has probably taken from Apple, but who cares anymore? Everybody copying off everyone, and Apple got those gestures from another phone which was released many years ago. So everyone's copying everyone. It's not really a topic worth talking about anymore. In US versions of the phone, we do have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 inside, and in the European version of the phone, including this one, we do have the Exynos 990, which are both 7nm plus architecture CPUs. They're basically both very, very powerful, and I'm going to show you Geekbench right now. I don't have the Snapdragon with me to show you. I do, however, have the Exynos, which I have taken benchmarks earlier on that I can show you. Not too shabby. 911 in the single core score and 2618 in the multi-core. Now, this is not as powerful as the Snapdragon. The Snapdragon scores quite a bit higher in the multi-core. Now, there is a controversial topic going on at the moment with people signing a petition to get Samsung to use the Snapdragon CPUs in all markets, which I do agree with, because I think you should get what you pay for in all markets and not a different product, which is essentially what they're giving us in the UK. However, it's going to be more powerful than S10 series, of course. So no complaints there. Just playing some Asphalt 8 here. Regardless of which chip you get, you're going to get pretty good performance, high frame rates, good graphics quality. Overall performance is, as you would expect from a flagship, very, very good. And of course, with this bezel-less display, it's really nice. But as you can see there in games, it's no slouch, especially with even being 1080p plus. It's great, especially if you're playing games which support the 120Hz refresh rate. they're going to look absolutely fantastic. With the S20 Plus, we do have 3 storage options: 128 gigs, 256 gigs, or 512, all of which come with 12 gigs of RAM, which is UFS 3.0, which means you're just going to get really fast RAM and multitasking. It's a really smooth experience. I mean, even if you're opening games and things, it stays in the memory, so I can resume the game there and it's just where I left it. It's pretty nice having 12 gigs, because that just means you have extra room for playing intensive games or doing video editing and things. It won't shut as many apps out. This is a 4K video test on the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. We do have optical image stabilization enabled. This is at 30 frames a second. Very, very sharp. Good details. I mean, it's not even blowing out the sky either. It's keeping that lovely blue colour, and there are no clouds either. So it's very clear. It's also a gorgeous day. Focusing is excellent. It's absolutely excellent. I mean, it's instant, using that dual pixel focusing technology, using all the pixels to focus at once. This is something that the S20 Ultra lacks, which is why it's had all of those focusing issues. But you can see as I move in and out of the plant, it focuses quickly and effortlessly. It's absolutely remarkable. As the dog's having fun on the grass, which is pretty dead now because it's been so dry. This is an 8K video test on the Galaxy S20 Plus. Filmed at 24 frames a second, so it's not quite as smooth as the 30 or 60 on standard 4K. However, you are getting that extra amount of sharpness, giving you a much more crisp video because, of course, it's twice the resolution. It's just gorgeous. This is 8 times the resolution of Full HD, which is 1080p. You still have all of the cool things before. Focusing doesn't work quite as well in the 8K mode. Nevertheless, you're still getting very good 8K footage. As I say, the focusing could be a bit better, but this is genuine 8K video. You've still got all the good colours, and the sharpness is on another level. So here are some photos I've taken with my S20 Plus. Sorry for the lack of variation, as during quarantine I can only, take pictures in my garden really. I'm also going to include some night photos as well to show you how it does without night mode and with night mode. This is 3x optical zoom taken with the telephoto lens. This is the standard wide angle lens. I've not moved at all. I've just stayed in the same position. And as you can see, the telephoto lens of course zooms in 3 times. So this is much further out as it's on the standard camera. And last but not least, this was shot on the ultra wide camera, which has 123 degrees field of view. That's as much as the human eye, which means this is what you would see if you were standing in the very same place. Of course, it doesn't look distorted because they're working some kind of camera magic which smooths it out, so it doesn't look like it's taken with a wide angle camera. It looks like it's just taken on the spot. And here are some night mode photos. All of these start off in just the standard camera mode, and then they immediately switch over to night mode. As you can see there, it brightens the photo up significantly. Even with it switched off, the photo is brighter than what I could actually see with just a small amount of light coming from my house. And it does have a wide f1.8 aperture, which lets in quite a lot of light into the pretty large camera sensor. Colours are beautiful, shadows are not crushed too much. It's wonderful. We do have Wi-Fi 802.11 AC and Bluetooth 5. It's pretty good. It's nice connectivity. You're going to have strong connection even if you're not right next to the router. You've even got an FM radio built in for the Snapdragon model. Don't in the Exynos version, unfortunately. You do, of course, have that USB-C connector at the bottom there. That just means you're going to have faster wired connections when you're transferring files to your PC and so on. We do have an in-display fingerprint sensor here. It is a futuristic addition, so you just place your finger on the screen and it unlocks just like that. Yeah, it does work pretty well. I mean, in my testing, it's gone pretty seamlessly, and like I saw there, it works with the screen off. You do have to put your finger in exactly the right place, so like you can see there, it says no match because it's just slightly off the sensor. So it does have to be directly on where the sensor is, and of course that will work with muscle memory, but it is a learning curve, of course. It's because the sensor is pretty small, and I can't show you the sensor because it is so puny. It's no bigger than capacitive sensors that you used to have on the back, which would have been about there. But it's nice, especially when it's lying on a table. You can just put your thumb on it and unlock it without, Face ID, for example, you have to look at it or you have to lift it up. With this, you can just put a finger on it and it will unlock. It's just convenient, especially if you memorize, exactly where it is. So it's a nice addition to have an in-display fingerprint sensor because, of course, you're having a lot more screen real estate and you don't need bezel at the bottom for a home button with a fingerprint sensor built in. So that's nice. And we do even have lift to wake. So if I lift it up there, it wakes up the display. That is just convenient. Saves you having to press the power button every time you want to turn on the screen. We also have double tap to wake, and that will wake the screen up, and then a single tap will turn on your always on display. This is an addition which Samsung phones have had for a long while and I've grown accustomed to. I do like the convenience of being able to see my notifications and the clock without actually having to turn the display on. As it's an OLED display, it's not having to light up a backlight. This is just illuminating the pixels it needs to, therefore everything which is black is saving power. We do have a pretty sizable 4500 mAh battery inside. That's going to easily give you a day of usage. Throughout using this phone, I've never once had to go in the middle of the day to charge it. The only times I've had to charge up is towards, the very, very end of the day or the very early hours of the next morning. Considering this gives me about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, it's pretty good, and it should do, wouldn't it? But considering it has also got a 120Hz refresh on the display, that's pretty good, considering, you still get all-day battery life. You will, of course, get more battery life changing it down to 60Hz, which is half the refresh rate. So if you're going on a long day or something, you can keep the resolution down and you can turn down the refresh rate. But it's just nice that it lasts all day, even with the 120Hz setting switched on. So that is really nice. And it does have 25-watt fast charging, and the fast charger comes in the box. And from 0 to 100% takes about an hour and 10 minutes, which is pretty nice. It does also have reverse wireless charging. To turn the feature on, the phone does have to be unlocked, so that's something to keep in mind. So if somebody wants to steal your battery power, of course, you have to give them permission. So you have to switch the screen on, turn it on in your settings. In this case, I can scroll down from my notification tray. You can set this up in the settings, press on it, authenticate with my fingerprint in this case, and it will give you some instructions. So it will say ready to charge and then put device on the back there. Now anything that supports wireless charging will work, including my Galaxy Buds and a Galaxy Watch, which I just showed there. So I'll tap off that and I'll turn the screen off, and this does work with the display switched off. And I will put my Galaxy Buds on the back of the device, and as you can see there, red LED just switched on as they're now charging. So that's really nice, especially for me, a Galaxy Bud user. If I'm out and about and I don't have a charger with me, I can use my phone to charge my Galaxy Buds, which makes a lot of sense. It does come in a variety of colours. Some colours are exclusive to some models. So for example, the pink colour you cannot get with the S20 Plus. You can only get it with the regular S20. and the black colour you can only get with the S20 Plus and not the S20. So there's Cosmic Black, Cosmic Grey, Cloud Blue, which this is, Cloud White, and Aura Red. And the S20 Ultra, which is the largest model, you can only get in grey and black, which is a little bit boring. At full retail, this does start at £999, but of course you can trade phones in and get money off. So for example, when I bought this, I traded a phone in and I got £350 off, which is really nice. So it's not as, painful to your wallet. Samsung does also do an upgrade program where you can pay however much per month, and you'll be able to get a discount on that as well if you trade a phone in. So that's my review of the Galaxy S20 Plus. I do hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. This has been Meridian Apurture. Thank you very much for watching.